Guys of a Certain Age is brought to you by no one. Absolutely no one. Except these dudes walking down memory lane. Now let's head to the studio to see what they misremember next.
It's the podcast that if it was a storm, it would be more of a tropical depression than a full-blown hurricane. It's Guys of a Certain Age, Robbie Koblentz in studio alongside
Jay Reed.
And from Parts Unknown,
Art Shirley.
Ah, there you are, Art. We can hear you. We can hear you. So
okay, good.
Yeah, we're recording this as the remnants of Hurricane Francine wisp across the atmosphere above us, even as we speak.
It came in with a whimper, I think. I don't know. There's some limbs down on the way here, but
came in with a whimper, going out with a whimper, I believe. So
that's okay. I saw limbs down in the neighborhood. Thankfully, nothing here. I did have some co-workers that had some trees down in the backyard in Starville. So, but hopefully it was not as bad a storm as they had thought it might be at one point.
We did get some gust here, and I'd be curious to see what's happened out at the cabin. Now that my tractor is back, I may go out and see if I need to move any trees from places. So
it was definitely windy overnight, but pretty calm right now.
Yeah, not bad. And much needed rain. And Art got a day off.
Yeah, it just seems kind of. I think they're probably going, what were we thinking? But anyway,
that's the way it goes. At least it's not like school where you're going to have to make that day up at the end of the year,
right?
Or you might have to
make it. I'll have to make it all the work up at the end of the week. So tomorrow it's going to be.
Yeah, so much for that idea. So, all right. Well, we're going to do things a little bit differently this week, thanks to our producer, Jay Reed, who came up with this entire show by himself.
No, not the entire show, but I'll take what credit you give me.
There you go.
Because it's so rare.
Yeah, that is. Credit and Jay just don't go together very often. So, as we're recording this, the news came down earlier this week that James Earl Jones passed away. James Earl Jones was born in
Arkabutla.
Butler,
yeah, Mississippi. Found out on Facebook that a friend of mine, his mom and James Earl Jones never dated, but he always sent her like happy birthday cards and whatnot. He pursued her a little bit when they were younger, so he's got that memory of James Earl Jones. But a very influential person in show business, but also in our geekdom, I mean, he's the voice of Darth Vader. He was in Conan the Barbarian. I mean, he's just been in a little bit of everything, right?
A lot of things for a long time.
Yeah. Art, what's your favorite James, other than Vader, what's your favorite James Earl Jones role?
I'm going to say, and I can't remember the character's name. I hate to say that, but Field of Dreams. I just always liked the part that he played, Field of Dreams. I know Mufasa is probably another favorite for a lot of folks, but the Field of Dreams character, which was kind of based, I think, on who wrote Catcher in the Rye?
J.D. Salinger.
Yeah, I think
baseball, Ray. Yeah, it's the one thing that's held us together.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking for his name.
Also, that's probably not true. Now think about it. Conan, the villain in Conan, may be my favorite, but it's so. I really do like the Field of Dreams movie. So.
I'm looking up to see what his what the name of the character was. Field of Dreams was what, 94? 98? When was Field of Dreams?
I thought it was earlier than that.
89, 88, 83. Hike, Omaha. Oh yeah, I forgot he was in Judge Dredd. He was the narrator of Judge Dredd. So.
Gosh, I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah,
the first one with Stallone.
Yeah, I am the law. Man, I cannot find. Field of Dreams goes way back. So anyway,
I thought it was still in Memphis when it came out, but.
Were you walking? 89, Terrence Mann.
Yeah.
So that monologue of his talking to Costner's character about how baseball was the common thread. I mean, I watched it again, and just what an amazing speech it was.
There was a little bit of trivia I was reading through some of his quotes in bio, and he did that movie. He also did The Sandlot. but he hated baseball.
Did he hate baseball?
Apparently he hated baseball.
That surprises me. I didn't realize that. Oh, in fact, I was just looking to see Sandlot's available on Disney. I don't think I've seen it since it came out, so I may have to watch that again.
I watched a little clip of that. There's all sorts of clip collections.
You're killing me, Smalls.
I know. But I don't remember a lot of details about that character, but when I saw the little clip of it, I thought, okay, that was a good one.
I think that's one of those movies we remember for the clips and things, and you can't really remember the actual story.
I mean, Dennis Leary.
That's my case anyway.
Dennis Leary was in it, right? He was the dad.
Is he the coach or the dad? Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen Sandlot. It's one of those things where I've just, I picked up lines. You're killing me, Smalls. I have no idea what the context is.
Yeah.
So, well, Jay, what's your favorite James Earl Jones?
Maybe Admiral Greer.
That was mine.
In all the Jack Ryan stuff. But I did. Art mentioned this, but I do. I'm definitely a fan of The Lion King. So I love that role. It was short, but
sweet.
But he played it many times, kind of like Vader.
So he was. I loved him as Admiral Greer as well. You know. He was in Hunt for Red October and Clear and Present Danger
and Patriot Games.
That was,
which is I don't know if that's a record, but it was one of because he played that same character in 3 different movies. I think it puts him in a different category. I can't remember. I read so much trivia last night, I'm getting confused. But
he's certainly the most consistent Jack Ryan actor.
And that may be.
That may be the truth.
Yeah.
So he was.
They replaced Jack Ryan. They replaced the wife.
They replaced everybody. Yeah. So he was on the 2nd episode of Sesame Street.
Oh yeah, I saw that clip.
Well, I saw that he was he was the first legit celebrity to be on Sesame Street, like they did.
Okay.
That's what the stat I read of the trivia.
I loved him in Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
Yeah, I saw that. I haven't watched that one.
Lieutenant
Lothar. That's great. And I didn't realize that was his first screen appearance.
I guess it is, because I'm looking at his IMDb. He was Guiding Light.
Guiding Light and As the World Turns back in the 50s.
Yeah. His first big movie role. And he did a lot of Broadway. Throughout. But
as a matter of fact, he's one of only 14 people who are the EGOTs.
Yeah.
Got an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that we don't think of it as a movie role, but everybody knows this is CNN.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Ted Turner was very, very smart for getting him to be the voice of CNN. So, well, let's jump into it. Let's do.
I think we're in it.
The Geek Index. So, Jay, you want to recap our how we award our geek.
I would be delighted.
Our geek score.
I would be delighted to do that. As I recall, now there's probably some flexibility, but there were 3 tiers. If you were in a major franchise, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, or Harry Potter, that's a 3-point. And I think that's 3 points per movie, right? That's what we did.
Is that the way we did it?
That's what we did with Jeffrey Wright, yeah. And then 2 points for any kind of a genre movie, and I think that's kind of wide open, but anything that would be in the geek nerd genre, and then 1 point for a genre series. So that's what I wrote down from the original episode where we scored David Tennant.
So, all right, let's go through major franchises. Obviously, Star Wars.
Right, but and there's, I counted at least, just scrolling through IMDb, there's at least 8 Star Wars related movies that he's credited with.
And I think he should get 10 extra points for being in the holiday special.
Well, I gave that a 1 because of it was TV, but I agree.
Yeah. So he was in the holiday special. That's
hazardous duty pay.
Yeah, really.
Right.
I wish you can dig and find parts of. I wish George would have. I wish they would have let that one back out into the wild.
I saw a couple of things about the Star Wars while we're on that. He got paid originally $9,000.
I heard $7,000.
Okay, well, but compared to $900,000 for Coming to America.
Yeah. It's crazy. And he did 2 hours of work or something like that. Just did everything.
Right.
He probably thought, man, I'm making out like a bandit on this.
Right. One. I mean, he also told, I think on episodes 4 and 5, the original 2, that he told Lucas not even to give him a credit because he didn't feel like he had done enough work to earn a credit.
Wow.
And now that's maybe his most iconic role.
Yeah. And David,
I would say it is.
And David Prowse is like, wait, you're not going to use my vocal? What?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry there, David. Loose lips sink ships.
Yeah, part of a rebel alliance. Yeah.
I'm your father.
Yeah. Oh, man.
He also thought that was, he said when he read that line, he thought it was a lie. And he couldn't wait to see how that lie played out in the movie.
Well,
Fascinating. Okay, so Star Wars at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 27 points there.
He was in Rogue One.
Yeah, I counted Rogue One. I mean, I didn't write down every single movie, but I got
so 27 points.
7 movies
He's
plus
also
Obi-Wan series.
He also said, I wonder how much he got paid to do the no in what's the third prequel movie? I can't even remember the title.
No idea.
Where Anakin turns into, finally gets the armor on, and then they tell him that Padme is dead. No.
So he did that one.
Yeah, he does the voice for that.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure he does. I don't think it was Anakin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hayden.
I mean, obviously, he probably had to have done that one. So
he probably got $7,000 for that no alone.
Well, he deserved much more.
The other part too, before we move on, is that they've licensed his voice. They've recorded enough to be able to artificially recreate his voice. So
I think one of the animated series they used clips of like you just said that he didn't actually come in the studio and read it. They had enough lines that they could just put it in.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what's next.
Star Wars at least 27.
Wow.
The next thing I have was Lion King. I consider that a genre movie. That's a Disney.
Okay.
So that's 2. Conan, wouldn't that be a genre movie too?
Oh yeah.
2. And then I consider Clear and Present Danger. All the Jack Ryan would be genre movies.
I'll go with that. I'll say that. I mean, I think that's we geek out on that and say we would do James Bond.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say we gave Jeffrey Wright credit for James Bond. So
yeah.
What about Simpsons? He was on The Simpsons a few times.
Absolutely.
All right. So at least 1 point for that.
But doesn't everybody get 1 point for Simpsons? Hadn't everybody?
Yeah.
Weren't you on there one time, Robbie?
Yeah, really. He was on Dr. Kildare too. I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Tarzan? Did you give him?
I got a Tarzan TV series. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got him a point for that. I gave him. He was in something called Meteor Man, which is a movie.
I remember Meteor.
So that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
genre too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Lois and Clark.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't know who Franklin Stern is, but he was in Lois and Clark.
Yep.
Judge Dredd. That's 2.
He should get hazard pay for Judge Dredd.
And you said that was the one. That was Judge Dredd. That was the one with Stallone.
That was
right?
Stallone.
Yeah, I think that's the original.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't watch this Stargate SG-1.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Apparently he was in that.
That's a genre.
I don't remember that.
He was in it. You have Exorcist down there.
I do not. He was in Exorcist.
He was in Exorcist 2, The Heretic.
Oh, okay.
So you consider that a genre movie?
Yeah, it's horror.
I would.
it's-
Horror.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, kind of like this podcast.
This is
Genre
We said horror, not horrible. Okay, yeah, we'll take that.
He was in Robots, which is an animated film. I don't think it was Disney, but
That's
I remember
that's a
that.
genre
consider
movie.
that. And then
Uh-huh.
he played the voice of the giant in Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what it said. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
That
that's
counts.
and I think those are the only ones I got. But even I think we've added a couple, so I still got a score of 47. Plus we've added 4 points to what I had. So I got a 51 or in that neighborhood. But
He was
Are
in
there
a- I
other
think-
things?
I think he was in the made-for-TV movie. I may be wrong about this. About the couple from Pascagoula or whatever that were abducted by
Squirrel Revival?
aliens.
Oh, that's a difference.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, but I'm looking through.
Encounter. I mean, probably it came out right after the Close Encounter stuff, but it was a made-for-TV movie.
See if I can. So that would have been 70.
And I could be wrong. It could be somebody else.
He was in the story of the Faithful Wookiee. That was a
Oh, my
short.
gosh.
That was a short that was uncredited.
Okay.
A piece of the action. No, the greatest. He was in Jesus of Nazareth.
James Earl Jones reads the Bible. Was on his credit list.
The River Night. No, that wouldn't be it. So the UFO incident. That's got to be
it.
TV movie.
Yeah.
Barney Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you got to add another point. That's
Okay.
it. That's a. Let's
Genre
do that
movie.
one. That's a genre movie,
That's a
but
TV.
a TV movie. So
Yeah,
let's
right.
add that.
Okay.
Flight of the Dragon. Well, that was a video. That doesn't really count. He was in an ABC After School special in 1982. I mean, you're really getting close to home there.
I don't know if y'all saw this. I sent you both a Instagram reel of when he was on David Letterman doing a top 10 list of top
I've
10
seen that before.
things
Remember
that sounds cool when James Earl Jones says
Uh-huh.
No, I didn't. I did do that. I'll have to go back and look. So, Field of Dreams. I mean, that's kind of a fantasy. Is that a genre?
I would say
movie?
that's a genre movie. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean because you've got Ghost basically coming in, so I think you're.
So that's two more. I'm up to 1990 in IMDb.
What you said Harry Potter, didn't you? Or did you say those are the franchises?
that was a
we
franchise,
recognize?
but I don't think he was in that.
I don't
Okay,
think-
I was going to say, when I saw that, I was going, what?
I forgot he was in Sneakers. Do you remember Sneakers Art with
Was that the
Sidney
Redford?
Poitier? Yeah, Robert
Yeah.
Redford. Yeah. No, that doesn't quite count, but
Yeah, that's close, but yeah.
yeah, I love Sneakers. I mean, he was in Sesame Street. That should count.
Genre. Well, I mean, it does have, fantastic
Fantasy.
creatures in it. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if it was the Electric Company, it would definitely count because you have Spider-Man.
that's right.
Signs and Wonders. I keep going. We should Judge Dredd. Third Rock from the Sun. That's a genre series, right?
Yeah, because it's an alien group of
Yeah, yeah.
aliens.
Yeah, so we got to put. He was in 19 episodes. He was the narrator.
Well, did he ever do any Star Trek?
I do not see him in Star Trek at any point.
That surprises me, but
Yeah, he was in Casper, A Spirited
I guess you
Beginning.
do Star Wars. At that point, they're like, we can't have him in Star
Yeah,
Trek.
you really that would be that would be kind of going across enemy lines.
wise.
So Primary Colors, which you may or may not remember the movie. The book was great. He did. He's credited as the CNN voiceover in Primary Colors, which was hilarious. Merlin, the TV miniseries. Do you have that down?
Oh, that's
Merlin,
fun.
really?
Yeah, he was the voice of the Mountain King.
Huh.
Okay.
And so that's.
I thought he had bound to do something Hobbit-like.
Yeah,
probably
I
as
keep
close as we
looking.
get to
I'm going
that.
through. I'm in 1999. He did a lot
I can't
of
remember
stuff.
any of our other scores, but I think this exceeds it.
Oh, by far. James Earl Jones reads the Bible. Yep. The Sandlot 2. I don't remember. That was a direct-to-video.
Is that the one he's in? So he's not in the original one?
He's
I
in
think
the
he's
original.
original.
one. Yeah.
Well,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think they use him as a voice.
in the original, he's like if he plays a blind man. I remember that.
But I think they're using him as a voiceover to set up the second one.
Oh,
because
maybe.
it says
Oh,
it's the
okay,
voice
gotcha.
of. Yeah. He was in House. Man, that's interesting. Star Tours, The Adventures Continue, again as Darth Vader. Big Bang Theory.
I watched the
That's
clip
right.
of this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd have to count that one.
Yeah, we got to put that one on. Star Wars Rebels, again, is Darth. The Lion King. Did you include Lion King? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't include Lion King 2. But
Yeah. Wow. Man, that's a ton. I forgot we need to do a list up here of our geek index. So where are we at with Mr. Jones?
I got it 57. I mean, I could have missed one, but I think he's still the winner by far.
James Earl Jones.
57s.
He's A1 to us. 57.
The others are going to have to work hard to catch up.
Oh,
Yeah.
You beat me to it. I was trying to think.
Oh, wow. I can't think of anything to come back with that. I was going to say something about mustard or, but no.
I think we should quit one behind.
And Worcestershire just doesn't fit into that at all. So, but, who's got the more iconic voice, James Earl Jones or Morgan Freeman? And they're both from Mississippi.
That's a tough one. I mean, I guess maybe right now, just because he's top of mind, I'm going to say James Earl Jones.
Yeah, I would say that too. But Freeman is not far behind.
I tell you
But
what.
you think about him in Shawshank Redemption, Morgan Freeman, and just
Yeah.
You know, all those things where they said, you know, the memes that you see, you know,
I think Freeman is
hard at work today.
Freeman's one of the most
Becky did not work hard.
recognizable, but
Yeah.
I think James Earl Jones is the most iconic.
Yeah.
I think that's probably, yeah.
You know, should have tried to get James Earl Jones to narrate One Night in March. Yeah, that didn't work out.
And another thing, he was in 2019. He was inaugurated as a Disney legend as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
They had to buy Star Wars to make that happen, but I guess Mustafa would have been.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Close enough. So, he never had a Marvel role, did he?
I thought I saw.
That's interesting.
Now, if you look through that IMDb trivia, there's at least a dozen things that he, you know, tried out for, auditioned for, and just turned out to not be the right person. So my guess is Marvel and DC were in there somewhere. But
You're not going to ask James Earl Jones to audition, okay? I mean, look, he's
or
either
was considered for the part.
That's different. I mean, but you're not. No, James Earl Jones does not audition for anything. I mean, you know, you're lucky if you get him. So, but
And I would think after he played the King in Coming to America and Coming to America 2, you know, it's like, well, we can't really have him be the king in Wakanda because they'll expect Eddie Murphy to come out as the Black Panther.
all right, that's pretty funny. That was really funny.
Which would be pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, all right, so that is our in memoriam of Mississippi native and legend James Earl Jones, 57 on a GOCA Index, and he kind of blew the top off. So, all right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk memorable Marvel moments. At least Art and I are. Up next. We're back, and we're going to talk memorable Marvel moments. And this is inspired by a video that dropped, maybe last week. It's the 85th anniversary of Marvel Comics, right? Right, Art?
Yes.
Okay. So what Marvel has done is they have put together a video of 85 iconic moments in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Cool. They didn't rank them, so I was somewhat disappointed. So they're just running these things. I don't know if they're in movie chronology order or what have you, but it got me to thinking, so what would be your iconic Marvel moments? And Art and I had lunch earlier this week. We talked about a few of them. Just kind of wanted to pose them out there. And it could be comic books. It could be the movies. I mean, what have you. So, Art, I'm going to let you open it up. What's going to be? As I point to the empty seat, yeah. Art.
I'm gonna go way back, and I'm gonna say the Fantastic Four comic book, because that's what really made Marvel what Marvel is today. The first Fantastic Four that came out in 63, 62. I can't remember now what it was. I think it may have been 63. Spider-Man came out in 64, but before then, they were doing, the Marvel started off as timely. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby were doing some things. A lot of monster movies. He always talks about, some of the what's the Millie the Model comic book, which was a hugely popular book, whatever. So they decided to do Fantastic Four, just taking a chance, thinking, okay, we'll try this, but we want to do something different with the superhero genre. We want to create a team that's not necessarily like the Justice Society that had been out already. They weren't established superheroes. They were just a team. Now, it borrowed a lot from Challengers of the Unknown, which Jack Kirby had done previously, even down to where, some of the scenes looked the same. Some of the panels looked the same. But you had the original Fantastic Four: Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, and Ben Grimm, the Thing. Sue Storm was the Invisible Girl at that time. And they kind of made it a more real world to live in as opposed to what was going on in DC. And it just took off. And that's what launched the Marvel. So that's going to say my first iconic moment is the launch of the Fantastic Four.
Jay, you got a moment that comes to mind? And movies are fine, too.
Yeah, well, I kind of kept it more modern just because I had comics, but I don't have that kind of.
And your mom
background.
has them now in her house.
Well, I know I've removed those over to my house now, but
wow.
I mean, Iron Man movie. I mean, I was always, if you look through the comics that I do have, I have a lot of Iron Man comics. He was a favorite of mine. So when that movie came out, And that was a huge thing for me because it was a good movie.
It was great.
And it took a superhero that I already liked and knew a little bit about. So, I mean, I would definitely put that 2008.
Art and I talked about how at the end when Robert Downey Jr. says, "I am Iron Man," it was a touchstone for the Marvel Cinematic Universe because there's really no more secret identities, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you are everybody knew that Tony Stark was Iron Man. He wasn't Tony Stark's bodyguard as he was in the
what they did in the comic books. Yeah.
So.
And it really, I mean, that set up a whole way to do because there's always such a thing. You know, people go, how do people not know that Clark Kent is, Superman? And how do you really not understand that Batman is Bruce Wayne, you know, when you start to put the things together? So they just kind of bypass that. It also gave them the freedom to be able to show the stars' faces more. You don't have to, everybody knew Captain America was Steve Rogers, both in the comic books and the movies, but you can show both Tony Stark without the Iron Man mask. You can show, Steve Rogers without the,
without his
Captain
mask.
America without the mask, you know, and you don't have to worry so much, somebody's going to see him. So it gave them a lot more freedom. And I think that helps attract, actors to those roles because they realize I'm not going to be hid behind this. I guarantee you, Robert Downey Jr. is not going to be hidden behind the Dr. Doom mask in the upcoming movie.
Not at all. I've got one of my touchstone moments, one of my most significant moments is Iron Man, but it's in the comic book realm. 1979, the arc of Demon in a Bottle, which was issues 120 through 128. That was a very powerful arc in the Iron Man series because it dealt with Tony Stark's alcoholism, and basically he confronted the fact he was an alcoholic, and I think he walked away from Iron Man there for a minute there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But it basically is Tony Stark realizing that, hey, I'm an alcoholic and I've got these abilities with this suit and whatnot that I could really hurt a lot of people with. And it was again, like Art talked about Fantastic Four being realistic, and then Peter Parker, Spider-Man, these were the trials and tribulations of a teenage boy with superhero tendencies. This was an everyday thing. Alcoholism in the late 70s. This is post Betty Ford's crisis. Former First Lady, the Betty Ford Clinic for Rehab was established. So this was something that was coming at the forefront. And again, Marvel would take realistic modern issues and put them into their comic books. And Demon in a Bottle, I think, was a pretty significant Marvel moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's one I had on my list as well.
What you got next on your list?
I'm going to go the death of Gwen Stacy, again, going back to the comic books. And, superhero deaths, superhero character deaths, both in comics and movies, become trivialized because, the character is going to come back. And Gwen Stacy has eventually come back. But for about 50 years, she did not. And that was one of the rules, one of the unspoken rules. You cannot bring Gwen Stacy back. So in the comics, Peter Parker, tries to save her. He uses his web to save her, but when he hits the end of the web, her neck snaps and she dies. So in trying to save her, he actually helped cause, her death. And that's just something that's a pivotal moment for him. And it's one where you talk about the trials and tribulations of the teenager. They showed that, but it took it to even more of a mature level at that point because he had to live with that death even more so than he did with Uncle Ben's death because he, even though he also felt responsible for that. But Gwen Stacy and the fact that they just never for a long time brought her back. And so that became a very real thing that happened. Gwen Stacy was his girlfriend before Mary Jane Watson was. Of course, that opened the door for them to get together later on. But yeah, that was a very significant thing that happened.
I'm going to jump in because I'm going to go Spider-Man as well. And it's going to be the Spider-Man No More.
That's what I was thinking of that one too. Yeah,
and that was issue 50 of Amazing Spider-Man. Is that correct? And and that was Stan Lee and John Romita, and it was basically Peter Parker saying, "I can't do this anymore. I want to be a regular guy," and so he throws away his suit, some kids find it in a garbage can, take it to J. Jonah Jameson, and Peter Parker becomes just an average Joe, and he's enjoying life. And that's when the Kingpin comes to power, I believe, while he is no longer Spider-Man. So with great power comes great responsibility. And so, Spider-Man.
And that's one that has been, I mean, both in terms of actually even, copying the cover, but that's one that a lot of other superheroes, both DC, Marvel, and other things have done. The hero hanging up the cape and the cowl or whatever, or the suit, depending on how they do that. But that's the one that's most significant to me. And and again, it's Marvel kind of playing with the idea of these superheroes being more human than not.
Yeah. Jay, what do you got next on your list?
Next on my list is WandaVision. I think for me, I may have forgotten something that happens from time to time. Yeah. But for me, the WandaVision was kind of the gateway Marvel limited TV series that led to everything else, and it's still one of my favorites of all the ones that have come out thus far. But I just the creativity and the story and the nostalgia, the whole thing, and then at the end when everything kind of starts to make sense of what's really happening. I think that's a significant moment. I mean, they haven't all lived up to it since then, but it was a big deal.
And Agatha all along starts when, Art, do you remember when Agatha?
I think it starts either the end of this month or maybe the first of the next month.
It's in September, I think.
September 18th.
September, right?
Yeah, 6 days from today.
So not too far off. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be curious how that's pulled off. So I'm going to say, before Art takes it, for me in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we talked about I Am Iron Man, but two things from Endgame. Endgame was just pretty massive anyway, but you finally see Captain America say, Avengers Assemble. And with that huge cast, everybody there, unprecedented amount of stars lining up to do this 30-minute battle sequence.
The most expensive scene in Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Well, one of the most expensive, period. And to hear Captain America finally say Avengers Assemble, because we have not heard him say it before, and then the other a few minutes later, Tony Stark, you got Thanos saying, I am inevitable, then Stark saying, I am Iron Man, and snapping. I mean, what incredible symmetry from the original Iron Man all the way through Endgame. So, to me, Endgame, it still holds up. That and Winter Soldier, I think, still holds up. So, Art, what do you got on your list now?
All right, this is kind of an odd choice, possibly, but the Incredible Hulk TV series. Okay. And the thing is, you'd had other superhero shows. You had Superman, Batman. You even had a Spider-Man from Marvel. But the Incredible Hulk was, at the time, even though you look back at now, it's cheesy effects, Lou Ferrigno and a Beatles fright wig, all this kind of stuff. But it was done seriously. Bill Bixby was a great Bruce Banner, although he played David Banner. And so it was successful. I mean, it actually was it worked for a while. They set it up. They took some liberties with creative license with the way the story was told, the way the story played out, but it really showed that you could do that kind of story and people would watch it and people would like it. I think it laid the groundwork for what came obviously much, much later. But also, it's so beloved that when the Edward Norton version of the Hulk, you're still using some of that same theme music from there. So I think that it brought Marvel to a lot of folks that weren't familiar with the comic books and kind of brought it to the forefront.
Yeah, I vividly remember watching that regularly. So you said it was David Banner instead of Bruce?
That's right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
That's odd.
See.
And there's a tombstone.
That's the theme song, The Incredible Hulk. Yeah.
And he's looking down because they act like he's dead, and he looks down at a tombstone that says David Banner, and then he looks back up, and it turns into a split screen of his face and the Hulk's face.
Yeah. The Lonely Man was the name of the song.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's definitely a genre jump from the music from current movies.
As he's wandering off into the it was great. and Lou Ferrigno. I mean, yeah. That was a Friday night. That was CBS Friday night, wasn't it?
Was it CBS or ABC? Maybe it was CBS. I can't remember which one it was on now.
I'm gonna have to look. It may have been ABC. Incredible Hulk TV show.
Meanwhile,
let's see. Yeah,
back at the studio,
Dr. David Banner.
And why did they do that? While you're looking, why did they change the name? Or was there a David and a Bruce?
There wasn't a David or a Bruce. I think they changed it just from a licensing standpoint. I think.
Yeah. And also, I think they wanted to be a slightly different character.
CBS?
When he was still son. It was CBS?
Yeah.
Okay. So it must have been one of the 3 channels we got because we
no kidding.
Because it wasn't on PBS.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I can remember watching that every Friday night. Just loved it. But, I think they kind of did that to kind of help separate him from the comic book character a little bit because he in the comics he still stays a scientist. He's very much doing what he used to do. Whereas this one he becomes this drifter and roams from town to town.
Yeah. And remember, it also spawned the Incredible Hulk Returns movie, the trial of the Incredible Hulk, and the death of the Incredible Hulk. Both those last two were directed by Bill Bixby.
Okay.
Yeah, and the trial of
I don't remember
the
any
Incredible
of those.
Hulk included Rex Smith playing Matt Murdock, who became the Daredevil in a non-accurate costume, to say the least. And the other one had Thor in it in a very non-accurate costume.
Basically, they went to a secondhand store and got that.
So it took 20 years to get over that before they could make a movie again.
Yeah, pretty bad. So, all right, Jay, what's your next moment?
All right, I'm going to go counter culture here, but I think it's important. I'm going to say that DC's 1989 Batman with Michael Keaton was a big Marvel moment because without the Batman movies, would Marvel Studios have come along and done what they did? I think we saw the Batman. It was popular. We loved it. Marvel said, we got to get in on this.
I kind of think I was kind of thinking the same thing. That's even though it's not a Marvel moment, it's significant to Marvel. Now they ended up doing, I guess, Blade.
Okay.
After that, and then of course you had the Spider-Man and X-Men movies that came out. But I think all that's a direct result from the success of the '89 Batman movie, which also could go back to the the '78 Superman movie. But I do think that that's what kind of said we've got to get into this. We've got to start making this happen.
After the '89 Batman, you have Batman the Animated Series, you have the Flash TV show. So I mean, it was kind of a geek renaissance at that point. So
and the thing is, the Superman movie, worked well. I mean, it was a movie, and granted, you had Superboy series, you had Lois and Clark to come after it, but there was not that. It was, to me, I don't remember there being this explosion of all this related material, that the Batman '89 movie had. Obviously, there were a lot of, product tie-ins and toys and stuff, but they really kind of, by that point had learned, from George Lucas, I guess, how to exploit and get everything you could out of that.
It's called cross-promotion is what it's called.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
So,
and then Superman, I mean, I know that's beloved as well, but for me, Batman, I don't know. There's something just a step above in some ways.
You love the Prince soundtrack.
Well, I don't dislike it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's when I started buying DVDs with Batman.
Gotcha. I'm going to say the first X-Men movie because it showed, well, for a couple of things. Number one, we all had our fan casting as who would be the perfect Professor X, who would be the perfect, Storm or whatnot. To me, X-Men, the first X-Men movie was almost perfect as far as, taking something from the comic books and modernizing it. And in the same vein, Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, which I think still is one of the best comic book movies of all time. Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock is almost perfect.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I mean, I liked his whole trilogy. But 3 is, well, actually, 3 really fell off, I should say. I like the original movie, but the second one is just perfect.
It is, absolutely. All right, Jay, what's your last one as we wrap up?
My last is going to be the acquisition of Marvel by Disney. I mean, good, bad, or otherwise, it was a huge moment for the Marvel Universe. So maybe it's not a movie or a comic, but it is a big moment.
Along those lines, I would say just getting Iron Man into the theaters was a huge moment for Marvel. I mean, we've talked about how important Iron Man was, but from a financial standpoint, you got to remember Marvel was almost bankrupt. They had signed off their big pieces. They'd signed off rights to X-Men and Spider-Man, their tier 1 heroes. They were left with basically their tier 2 guys. You know, they'd licensed off the Fantastic Four as well, and this, you know, the Iron Man, which we all love now, was really a Hail Mary, and bringing in both for Marvel and Robert Downey Jr. And you know, I don't know that I've ever, I don't know if there's a movie that was so under the radar that nobody really cared a whole lot about. There wasn't much buzz. I remember talking to my buddy Chris Cosper saying, hey, we should go see this. And he's like, Robert Downey Jr., who is Iron Man? What? No. And then boom. So I think that movie was such a catalyst for Marvel because it led to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it led to the acquisition by Disney, and it led to the continuance of Marvel as a creative force. So
I saw last night that I think this does not include Deadpool Wolverine, but among the 50 highest grossing films of all time, 11 of them are Marvel. So that's probably 12 now.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
I mean,
because I think Wolverine and Deadpool is like number 2.
Yeah, still making money now.
Yeah.
As we speak.
Yeah. Marvel Jesus. Art, what's your favorite?
Last one I'll do, and this is again going back to the kind of beginning of the comics, the Marvel bullpen. One thing that Stan Lee did, and Stan Lee, I don't know if you've seen, there's books coming out about him that, you know, people are really kind of coming down on what he claimed to do and everything, but Stan's still the man, you know, for a lot of us. But one thing he did was to make sure that the credits for who wrote the story, who drew the story, who penciled, inked, all that kind of stuff was in there, and other. You know, not that they hadn't been, you know, artists had signed their work before. You knew Bob Kane did stuff, but they went through and put all these people in there, and then they developed these different personas around the bullpen characters. So you had, you know, all these folks, and you felt like you knew those. So I think his bringing people into kind of the creative process and getting to know the creative people behind it was just a huge thing, and it's really separated Marvel from DC for a while.
In their letters column too. I mean, they would publish letters from the readers, and
George R.R. Martin.
Oh yeah, that's right. So I'm reading the Micronauts collected compendium omnibus. I guess it's the first 29 issues of Micronauts, which I think published in '79, and they've got the fan mail in, they've got everything in, and it's so much fun going back to 9-year-old me reading comic books because I mean, it really just kind of drew you in, and you know what Marvel was at that point was incredibly special, and you know, Stan was a big part of that. So but yeah, my heroes in you know the 80s were Ronald Reagan and Stan Lee. I mean, neither could ever do any wrong. So, all right. Anything else about Marvel milestone moments, cinematic comics, or otherwise?
We know Agatha all along is the next thing coming up. What's the next movie coming up? Is it the Captain America?
I think it's Captain America.
Brave New World?
Brave New World.
Probably so.
Or Strange New World. I mean, depending on how it's going to be. So, anyway. All right.
So more to come.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. That does it for this week. We'll see you guys next time around.